That picture.
Okay, if we can make the Vaishnavas happy, this is the success of our life. Suresh Krishna Prabhu in Riga, Latvia, Jai Jai Jai. Sulakshana Devirasi also in another control room, giving the continuous Chinese translation in Chinese. And Nirupama Devirasi in Govinda land. Oh, and here we have Gupta Govardhan. Gupta Govardhan back to Vrinda. Hare Krishna. And happily seeing your morning bhajans, happily hearing the morning classes, the morning chats between you all, keeping us up to date with the weather and with the activities going on there in Chiang Mai. We're very grateful for that. Means devotional activities. And Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindagi Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai. And Srila Goswami Maharaj rightfully sitting in the presidential chair. And here we are today. We are continuing our parikramas. Devotees are still gathering together as we speak, coming in one by one by one by one.
Maharaj, I can tell you, on the first International Mayapur Festival, you know, in 1973, 4 on that time. So I was stationed in India. We had to receive all the visiting devotees. It was the first 747 ever chartered to land at that airport, what used to be called Dum Dum Airport. And so when I was with these dignitary Indian, and as someone would arrive, I'd say, he's the president of New York Temple, you know, acha, you know, president of Chicago, acha, president of Los Angeles, you know, they're acha. And they, and who are, and you are? And I said, president of the United States. Acha.
Acha. And today we do have Jai Kumar with us, Jai Kumar Prabhu, or Prabhu Jai Kumar. What's that DR stand for? Should be PR, spelling mistake. Prabhu Jai Kumar. And family, I'm sure the family there too. Jai and Sundari in China. Dandavat Jai Kumar Prabhu. All right, so Maharaj, one by one, we've been greeting the devotees, and I see that now the Russian and the Chinese channels are now open, and we don't have an Italian channel. So on Indita and Jai Shekhar Prabhu, sorry, we don't have an Italian channel, but you can hear the Hare Katha. It is all good for us. All right, and Banavi and Oscar, Divya Shakti Devirasi, very good, Kamalini Devirasi. So Maharaj, the devotees are pretty much gathered together.
Yes.
And it's pretty punctual, 5 minutes in, and maybe they didn't all survive the train journey yesterday evening. But after the Govardhan Puja, we took the train, which literally goes to Govardhan station. The train from Mathura to Jaipur stops. The first stop is the Govardhan railway station, which is a sweet, small railway station befitting Govardhan. And from there, then going on our magical train to take us to Jaipur. We arrived there last night a bit late, but had a bit of a rest. And then now we can think we are in Jaipur, and we're going to attend Mangalati, because really for, I think, every devotee, and even for the non-devotional section, aspiring devotional section. It's an inspiration to see so many people early in the morning coming daily for the darshan of Govindaji. So our leader in Jaipur is actually our Paramananda Prabhu, who's been there several times. He knows Jaipur like the back of his hand, as well as the deities and the nature of the pujaris in the temples. And he's a wonderful host for Jaipur. And so at least I can rattle everybody and get them out of bed early in the morning and say, okay, it's now 3:30 in the morning. Quick shower, quick get dressed. And we need to leave, so we're transporting ourselves in place and time a little bit. And we need to leave at 3:45 in order to get ourselves to the temple at basically by 4:15, half an hour to get to the Govindaji Temple. And then when we get to the Govindaji Temple, that gives us time to put our shoes in the shoe rack, and then to get our token for the shoes, then come to inside the Govindaji Temple. And there, already at 4:15 in the morning, we see so many people gathered, anticipating the opening of the doors. So at this point, Maharaj, I can pass the microphone to you, to Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, to give us some introduction of whose darshan we are about to have. And then Maharaj, I think between yourself and Paramananda Prabhu, that we can have an introduction to Govindaji and the circumstances there. And then I can come along when we need to collect the shoes, perhaps.
Hare Krishna. I think I'll just say one sloka, and then Paramananda Prabhu can tell us about the Govindaji Temple and everything there. And then I'll make some comments about the, from Charitamritam, the significance of Govinda, why Govinda, Rupa Goswami is Govinda, in fact. But that verse Kaviraj Goswami has, and Antya-lila, whereas the famous Bande Hum verse, and which we should say actually, Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Jata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganar Bhaganatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitangscha. Then the three principal deities, Jayatam Suruto Pango Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Sri Radha Madana Mohano, Radha Madan Mohan. And I'll do the third, so Sambandhagyan, third one, Prayojan Tattva, Sriman Rasa Rasarangbi, Bangshi Bhatta Tatastita, Karshan Venu Svanai Gopi, Gopinatha Sri Estuna. And then in the middle, in the central position, Dibyat Brindaranya Kalpadrumadha, Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto, Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo, Prastalivi Sevyamano Smarami. Paramananda Prabhu.
Raj, can you hear me? All right, so.
Yes, loud and clear.
Raj, I know, I will be your puppet, even though, like you said, I've been there many times. So many times, I don't know. I've been going there for the last 25 years, maybe more than that. But really, it is when we started going there in the company of the devotees and also your presence, we could actually see something or perceive something of substance. So if you want me to be a puppet, I will be the puppet. And I will take you to those places, but I will be still following your footsteps. Anyhow, we're in the Jaipur. Yes, Maharaj.
Please continue.
So we have arrived to Jaipur train station. We're taking rickshaws. Actually, we can walk. If we walk from the hotel we usually stay in, it's about 25 minutes. And it's a beautiful walk. And just a little bit of a history. How did the deities end up in Jaipur since the beginning? As we know, they're all in Vrindavan at some point. Rupa Goswami discovered Govindaji. Madan Mahan was discovered actually by Advaita Acharya, and then later came to Sanatan Goswami to receive service from him and actually taking care of Goswami, like Maharaj was saying the other day. And then Gopinath was discovered in Vamshivat by a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, whose name was Paramananda Bhattacharya. And he's giving the Gopinath into service. He's giving to Madhu Gopal, who started serving the Gopinath and established the temple in Vrindavan. So they were all there in Vrindavan till the Aurangzeb's time. And as we know, the Mughals, the Muslims, they started attacking Vrindavan, destroying temples, and all the principal deities were taking for protection to Rajasthan. And we know that all the kings of Rajasthan, they were devotees, and not just devotees, they favored Gaudiya line. They were followers of Mahaprabhu and the sadhus, the saints, the Goswamis who represented Mahaprabhu's teachings. So the original service to the principal deities, Madan Mohan, Govindaji, Gopinath, was actually established according to the Gaudiya line. So they're there, and in the beginning there was no Jaipur. When they came, there was no Jaipur city. It's still unmanifest. So they had this place called Amber Fort. So if you take a bus, and this is what we used to do, you take a bus from Delhi airport, and then it's 6 hours from Delhi airport, and you go into this very narrow gorge, like a split in the mountain. And literally, 10 soldiers would probably hold off the whole army. It's like, what's that place where the Spartans fought the Persians, Thermopylae, something like that.
Yeah.
Very similar place. And then you enter that crack, you go through, and there will be this beautiful fort. It's called Amber Fort. And there was a settlement just behind the fort, and a place that was named Kanak Vrindavan, means Little Vrindavan, a replica of Vrindavan made by the kings of Jaipur before Jaipur was manifested. So the original deity of Govindaji resided there for a while, and then one Maharaja, he built the city of Jaipur. And when he built the city of Jaipur, he decided to offer it like an offering to Govindaji. So he said, Govindaji, he is the proprietor, he is the owner, he is the proper king of the Jaipur. So it was offered to the Govindaji deity. And as we know, the temple is located right in the middle of the palace, surrounded by the palaces and places that originally belonged to the Maharaja of Jaipur. And so we're coming there, and it's a very beautiful darshan. Morning darshan is one of the biggest darshans. So like Maharaj mentioned, if we walk, if we don't take rickshaw, if we just walk there, we will see that the whole city is drawn like there's a magnet in the middle.
Yeah.
And you can see those like a liquid iron, liquid metal just drawn to that one spot. And people, they're not just walking lazily, yawning, and they're sleepy. No, they're very focused. They're running. And when it's getting really late, you can see people running. The whole city is running there. And there are easily 10, 15, 20,000 people during the morning darshan, as we can see now. So we're there now, we're ready. And we have our dear Srila Goswami Maharaj, who will tell us something about Govindaji.
Paramananda.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
And Ajita. Hare Krishna. It reminds me of something that Srila Guru Maharaj said with regard to deities and where they will be, and sometimes they move and appear in another place. And he said in a very grave way and deep thought, he said, it is designed and destined. Because whatever we might think, oh, such a beautiful temple was there in Vrindavan for Govindaji, why he would not be there, and it would seem sad. The hearts of the devotees would be crestfallen that he couldn't be in such a palatial temple. You know, how many stories were there? 7?
7 stories.
And it was so gorgeous. And we're told at night they had like 1,000 kilo ghee lamp, thing like 1,000 kilos of ghee, and it lighted, illumined at night. And this Muslim king would see that from his palace and like what is that? It was outshining his opulence. So out of envy, he knew to destroy it altogether would create a riot or huge disturbance. So he removed the top 3 stories. And still when you go there, it's grand. You know. So then we think, oh, that's so sad. But then we see Govindaji, it is designed and destined that he will be at the center of a kingdom and with thousands and thousands of devotees as we see it. Oh, there's the original. So when I mention these verses, it's according to Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan, tattvas. Means truths or truths that are to be understood, right? So Sambandha, we're told generally is, you know, establishing relationship. Okay? Abhideya in the middle, the means to proceed, the method, how to proceed. And Prayojan, the ultimate goal or result. So Madan Mohan, Guru Maharaj says, interestingly, like in the Gayatri, the Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, like that. But he said, Krishnaya means Madan Mohan. And as Freud identified Madan or Cupid as the operating principle of material existence, whatever we may see, he's saying in the background, what's really driving it is this principle of eros, right? Whatever it might be. He will even say all artistic achievements, the achievements of civilization, what's really driving it? Driving the whole existence, eros. Right? We see it in nature. Right? We see it everywhere. It's inescapable. Right? And we're told in the Bhagavatam, in the Rasa Leela section, you know, where it says, Hridrogam, we're suffering from heart disease. Our heart is plagued by desire, right? And desire that we conceive fulfilling through consuming, acquiring, controlling, and consuming things lower than us. So it's interesting that that comes in the Bhagavatam, because in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, Narada is telling Vyasa, when Vyasa is wondering, I gave Mahabharata, I gave the Puranas, I gave the Vedas, but I'm feeling despondent. Why? Oh, well, people are using them for mundane religion, which will be called in the Bhagavatam, Kaitava Dharma, cheating religion. So they're saying, oh, Mahabharata, Veda, Purana, it's about living dharmically in your life, being a religious person. Then you can live happily in the material world. He's saying, so they're not getting the real message. Right? So, Arto Yam Brahma Sutranam, Bharatartha Vinirnaya, Gayatri Bhasharupo Sho Vedartha Paribringhita. It's mentioned. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the real meaning of the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutras. It's what you're to get from Bharata, from the Mahabharata, and it is the Gayatri Bhashya, the purport to the Gayatri mantra. And what is that Bhagavatam about? Rasa. That's what Bhagavatam is. Beginning, middle, and end, actually. It may appear to be going in other directions, but it's only going towards this one plane, rasa. Guru said it takes us out of the world of intellectual jugglery into the domain of rasa. And rasa means loving relationship. And ultimately, Madhura rasa is the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Addressing addressing eros. So why, if Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Jnana Acharya, necessarily his deity will be Madan Mohan. Because Madan, another word for Cupid, right? Cupid, Eros, Madan. So the whole world is enthralled by Eros. It has a stranglehold upon the heart. Bhagavatam says, Vidyate hridaya granti chidyante sarva samshaya. Chiyante tasya karmani mai driste akilatmani. But this, the nectar of the message of Srimad Bhagavatam sprinkled on the heart it's actually cut the knots. The stranglehold that lust has on the heart will be released by hearing Bhagavad Katha. So Madan Mohan, Krishna Madan Mohan means as everyone in this world, the Guru Maharaj like to say, the whole animation, because that goes beyond human civilization, is under the charm of Eros or Cupid. Saying Krishna is so beautiful. Krishna conception is so beautiful, so sweet, so enchanting, so seductive that Cupid will be bewildered by the beauty of Krishna. So the same effect Cupid, what they're telling us, has upon everyone else, Krishna has upon Cupid, what to speak of all of those deluded by Cupid. So that's good news for us. So there's an escape. And this is the method. Yadanucharti lila karna piyusha viprut. A drop of the nectar of hearing about Krishna upon the heart, touches the heart, melts the heart, and Krishna claims the heart. But Guru Maharaj, always Guru Maharaj showing the fine thing and the deeper angle of vision. And once hearing what he says, it sounds so commonsensical. Right? As Guru Maharaj would say, I take my stand on spiritual common sense. So so that first sloka toward Madan Mohan, then we can understand, oh, it's by Madan Mohan that we're announced the possibility to break the stranglehold of lust, and it implies some possibility that will be addressed in Krishna conception, but not expressed so much there. So Guru Maharaj says, with Madan Mohan, no mention of Radharani or her friends. He says it like that. And then he said, in the last verse, when you're talking about magnetic attraction, use the word Karshan Venu, means the magnetic attraction of Krishna's flute through sound. Again, through sound, Vedanta, Anavriti Shabda, through sound culture, you'll be liberated. The spiritual path is seeing through hearing. So it's very consistent. And what to speak of, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, Karshan Venu, the Rasa Rasarangbi, Bangshi Bhatta, as we told in Vrindavan, at the Bangshi Bhatta, where Krishna's playing his flute, and like mysterious charm is luring everyone. They're being drawn towards Gopinath, the Lord of the Gopis. So Guru Maharaj, he says there, yes, so it's saying Madan Mohan is where no friend of Radharani mentioned there, just Madan Mohan alone, but saying this, the possibility of this type of divine love will be realized where in the third verse with Gopinath, the Lord of the Gopis. But then Guru Maharaj says like this, as only he can say, he's the only person I know who can talk about the Rasa Leela and say, well, there are many groups, it's open, so all the groups are there. Right? An impossible, inconceivable achievement, but he's saying many groups. So he'll say, Chandravali's group is there, other groups. So Gopinath is the Lord of all the gopis. That means all the different groups, but that's not our target. He's always telling us that in the middle, you find the substance and the, how shall we say, the golden mean, right? The central conception you'll find. But he tells, First 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, last 6, Gyan, in the middle, Bhakti, devotion. So always in the middle position, Krishna in the middle position. So here, although in the sequence it's like 1, 2, 3, but the importance is that Dibya Brindaranya Kalpadrumadha, underneath these Kalpadruma trees and Vrindavandam, Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastho, on these Chintamani jeweled thrones, Srimad Radha, Srila Govinda Devo, so Radha and Govinda, then what? Prestali bi Sevyamano Smarami. They're being served by whom? Prestali bi means their most intimate servitors. So you see what Guru Maharaj is saying. First one, no mention of Radharani and friends. Last one, everyone included, even opposition groups. But in the center, Radha Govinda, only Radharani's group, only her most trusted, intimate associates are there. And so Govinda, and look, we're Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. I mean, we aspire to be servitors of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. But look at the Guru Maharaj, as if he couldn't make it any clearer. But he says his Guru Maharaj, his deity, generally we will refer to as Sri Jai Sapariga, Sri Sri Guru Gauranga, Gandharvika Giridhari. That's many deities Saraswati Thakur has, but that's special to him. Gandharvika Giridhari. And we said so much about the glories of Giridhari, Govardhan, Giriraj. But so Guru Maharaj is taking the Gandharva from Gandharvika for his deities, Gandharva, Govinda Sundar. So there's this special connection Guru Maharaj has with Govinda, and then Govinda Kunda, and then what does he name his successor and Acharya? Sundar Govinda. Deity Govinda Sundar, Acharya Sundar Govinda. So Govinda, Govinda Kunda, just Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. And I know Madhusudan will like that very much. So, and why again Govinda? Go means, we told yesterday, on Govardhan Puja, the cows, who makes the cows so happy, fulfilling them, taking care of them. But another meaning of go is senses. So we're told the deity of Govinda is the fulfillment of all sensuality. Right? So what are the senses? Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, right? Hear all of those things. So Govinda Dev, is the ultimate fulfillment of, infinite beauty, infinitely tasteful, infinitely sweet, to hear the sound of his flute, everything like that. All sensual aspects and prospects are there. So Govinda, right? But that Govinda, so we can see the central conception of the infinite, right? Krishna Rajatika Kela Sarvatam Naralila Narvapu Tahara Swarup Gopavesh Venukar Navakishore Natabar Naralila Hoyanurup. These human-like pastimes are the central conception of the infinite, the golden mean of the infinite, attracting everyone to the center. So that Krishna, so sweet, so beautiful, and the whole, he says, and Charitamrita, the whole universe is mad by my fragrance. We talk about the beautiful fragrance of the flowers, and just think, Punyoganda Prativyam Cha, all beautiful aromas. Krishna is that and infinitely more. So his aroma is madly intoxicating, right? His touch, he's inconceivably soft. Right? So his aroma, his song, the sweet sound of his flute, everything about Krishna. Right? But then he says, so I can understand why everyone wants to have connection with me. They will, the total sensual fulfillment and connection with Govinda. He's saying, but what about me? You know, that's good for all of you. Where will I find what you find in me? Where will I find that? It would have to be in someone who is more qualified than me. So then he starts speaking of his beloved, who is described, and this is her month, the month of Srimati Radharani. We're on the Brajamandal Parikrama still, we're just extending it outward. So how is she known? Govinda Mohini. So like Madan Mohan Mohini. Govinda Mohini, she's bewildering that Krishna. He's irresistibly drawn an attraction to her. Govinda Nandini, as he's pleasing the senses of everyone, she's pleasing the senses of Krishna. Govinda Nandini, Srimati Radharani. So, and one thing I like to say, because today's also the disappearance day of Srila Vasudev Ghosh. So those friends, Prestalivi Sevyo, when it's Prestalivi Sevyamanus Marami, that intimate group, we're told Vasu Ghosh of Chait Agor Lila, Astasaki, Sudevi. Right? And we notice they're all, like Prabodhananda Saraswati, Tungavid, the others, they're all so intense in their expressions and just dismissive of anything else, and they're just singularly focused on Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Right? So much so, like Vasu Ghosh, it's from him that this song, he has many songs. The Ghosh brothers, they're all the best singers. Madhava Ghosh, Govinda Ghosh, Vasudeva Ghosh. That this line was favorite to Guru Maharaj, where he says, Jadi Gorna Hoita, Tabiki Hoite, Kemmore Dare Tam Dehe, Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa Sima Jagata Janato Ke. He's saying, in the way Guru Maharaj would express it. He's saying, if Gauranga had not come down, how could we live? What would be our reason for living? Right? Radhar Mahima. Mahima means glories. Saying, if he had not come, the world would not know the glorious position of Srimati Radharani. Right? Radhar Mahima, Prema Rasa Sima. And Krishna Prem, and the highest type of Krishna Prem, Mahabhav, this would be unknown, unexpressed, unappreciated in the world if Gauranga had not come down. And he said, and that Gauranga, and what is his means? He's saying, by chanting and dancing, iron turns into gold. And he said, and what kind of sadhana is this? Chanting, sing, we used to think like that, it was just something we said in the so-called old days or the beginning days of the Krishna consciousness movement, you know, just by chanting, singing, dancing, and feasting, that you would get everything, right? As one devotee at the first Sunday feast I ever attended, after shaving my head and being a brahmachari, there was this devotee, Baladev, preaching to a guest, and he had a gulab jamun in his hand, and they were talking about yoga, and he said, and yogis in freezing water, they do meditation, freezing water up to their neck, they do meditation in the winter. And in the blazing hot sun, you know, they make a fire and sit in the center, a circle of fire, and sit there and do tapasya. And he said, yeah. And he said, and he's holding the gulab jamun, and the juice is kind of like dripping down his hand like this. And he said, but the bhakti yogi, he feasts. And went, you know, and tossed the gulab jamun in his mouth, like, and the juice coming down. Like, and I thought, I really like it here. I think I'm gonna stay. So I'm just saying, we kind of thought, oh, Prabhupada said that, and he did, and we said it too. But Vasu Ghosh said it. Just think, an Astasaki Sudevi comes down and said, what is this sadhana? You know, chanting, dancing, and feasting, you get everything. Same thing. But what Guru Maharaj says in his heart expression of that song of Vasu Ghosh, so he's saying, so if Gauranga had not come down, how could we live? You know, impossible to think. And then he says, but I noticed sometime you were living before you heard about Gauranga. I just said it's not possible to live for a moment without Gauranga, but for some time you were living like that? Not, oh, now I understand. In anticipation of your connection with Gauranga for some time, then I can understand. Because if Gauranga had not come down, how could we live? You know. So Vasu Ghosh is so intense like that, Prabodhananda, and they're the Astasakis. What are they? They're just mad for Gauranga. They're mad for Gauranga. Why? Such intimate servitors of Srimati Radharani, why they're so crazy about Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Because they know, who is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Inconceivable of inconceivable things, Radha and Govinda combined as one. And they know, they want everyone to come to the land of Vrindavan, to come to the land of Radha Govinda. But they know the entrance way is through Gaur Leela and service to the holy lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So today's the disappearance day of Vasu Ghosh. So just to sing his glories in this regard as well. Hare Krishna.
Shall we proceed now?
Pardon me?
Shall we proceed?
Yes, proceed.
No. We're just arrived to Jaipur, we're just starting here.
We're on the slow train.
We're going.
That's when I have to say this. When you're talking about going from Vrindavan, so I remember when I first came to India, the experienced devotees would give the newcomers some advice, like do this, don't, and they had this list of like things not to do. But there were these things that you should never do under any circumstances, right? And those you had to like tattoo them onto you practically. And what were they like? Never travel third class unreserved. That was one. And that's another story about going to Puri where I violated that order. But I got the darshan of Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj, so it worked out. But the other one was, so that was one, never travel third class unreserved. The other one was never take a narrow gauge train. And so with Madhur Duty and perhaps Radha-Madhava, we were in Agra and taking a bus there, and the bus pulls in, and there's like 40 seats and 300 people. So you have to fight your way on that bus. And Madhura duties, he's going like, after you, after, and no one's saying, no, Prabhu, you, they're all going. And I'm screaming, Madhura duty, get on the bus, Finally, we sort of dragged him on the bus and we go to the train station. And the only train available is a narrow gauge train. And that's sort of ringing in my ear, never ride a narrow gauge train. With the one to Bhakti-Vinod Thakur's place, the tracks are still there. Madhusudan Maharaj knows, Bhakti Lalita knows. But there's people selling fruits and stuff. It's not used anymore. But when we first went, but it was a short distance, like Shantipur, Krishna Nagar, okay, But for a long distance, never get on a narrow gauge. It means the track, when they say narrow gauge, say they're normally like this. A narrow gauge train, the tracks are about like that. So what it means is they look like trains from a theme park. And they go like 3 miles an hour or something. They're just slowly, And so we get, and I'm going, oh my Lord, you know, like, and there's no like seats. I mean, there's some seats, but there's no sleeping. And then I realized this is due to arrive at like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. So we're gonna have to sleep here. And what I would say, with all due respect to all the divine people on that train, everybody became a pillow, like the Napoleonic chair. You know, where Napoleon's soldiers could not sleep in the rain. So he said, all right, one man, you sit in his lap, his lap, his lap, and make a circle called Napoleonic chair. So we had the Napoleonic chair going on that car. Like, there are some divine people, I thank them for the comfort. You know, that's how we made it through the evening, and then woke up in Jaipur, happily.
Right. And I have to confess, this was my long prayer that one day Srila Goswami Maharaj will join us for our Jaipur part of Parikrama.
We shall.
And I guess my prayers were sincere, Maharaj.
Yes.
And today Maharaj has joined us on the Parikrama.
Yes, that's what he's saying. So it happened this way, virtually.
Giving us proper mood and proper vision. And since now we acquired that proper vision, at least to some extent, if we look again on the altar of Radha Govinda, if we're looking to the left, in the left corner, there is a beautiful deity of Kasishwara Pandit. And we know when Mahaprabhu came to Puri, 2 of his god brothers, they came to serve him on the following instructions of Ishwara Puri. So one was Govinda and one was Kasishwara Pandit. So in Mahaprabhu, of course, he is hesitating to accept service from his god brothers. But when he heard that this was the desire of his spiritual master, he accepted Govinda as his personal servant, and Kasishwara Pandit became the bodyguard. He was very strongly built.
Yes,
so
for Mahaprabhu,
yes,
he was.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would always walk in front and help
keep the crowds away on the way for Jagannath Darshan.
And he stayed there with Mahaprabhu for a long time, and then Mahaprabhu, he sends Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan. And at some point, a news of Rupa Goswami discovering Govindaji deity reached Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu tells to Kasishwar, he said, go to Vrindavan and help Rupa to establish the proper worship of Govindaji. And Kasishwar Pandit, he is heartbroken. He says that I cannot proceed without, I cannot live a moment without you. And you want me to go away? And then Mahaprabhu, seeing his eagerness and his separation and seeing his heart breaking, he gives him one deity.
Show that deity if you can.
And that deity is Gaur Govinda. And he says, I will always be with you, Kasishwar. Do not think about anything. Go and do your seva in Vrindavan. So he took this deity and he worshipped this deity till the very end. And he was the first servitor of Govindaji. And then his disciples, they continued that line. So his deity is there, and it's very, I don't want to say small, but,
relative to Govinda.
Yes, compared to Sri Govinda. Yeah. Beautiful. And now we're going to a hidden gem, really a hidden gem.
Right. So I want to say one thing before, is that, so there's different ways to promote Krishna conception. Like, there's where you make the appeal, you know, like Nityananda falling at the feet, begging, and other Prabodhananda, straw between the teeth, begging, my dear sir, forget everything you know, turn your attention to lotus feet, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Jiva Goswami, then there's another way, Jiva Goswami in his book saying, you know, I forbid anyone of this type man to read my book. You know, that other way to say, no, don't do this. Which is another way to awaken you, like, oh, then what's that? What is that we shouldn't read? You know. So Rupa Goswami, and his famous verse describing the beauty of Govinda, he's employing the negative, as like Radharani saying too. You hear one drop of Krishna Katan, your life is ruined forever. Yes, your material life. Your heart being touched by that nectarine substance will be unable to forget that, and it will gradually express fully in time. So Rupa Goswami, this is the most beautiful verse. And he says, it goes like this. Smeram bangi traya parichitam sachi vistirna drishtim bangshi nyastara kishalayam ujjalam chandrakena govindakyam haritanumita keshi tirto pakante ma prekshi stas tavajadi sake bandhu sangesti Bangu Sange Stiranga says, my dear friends, if you are indeed attached to your worldly friends, do not look at the smiling face of Govinda as he stands on the bank of the Jamuna at Keshigat. Don't look, don't go to see Govinda standing on the banks of the Jamuna and the Keshigat, casting sidelong glances, and he places his flute to his lips. Right? His transcendental body, bend tribanga and threefold bending form, and appears very bright and beautiful, shining, resplendent in the moonlight. Don't go see that if you want to remain attached to your friends in this world. So, there.
Right. So now we're going, it's a walk, Maharaj. How many Mahamantras? We forgot about that. So we're going to Gopinath Temple. I guess it's going to be what, 3?
Well, just before we go to the Gopinath Temple, if I can just like add something just for Govindaji, that this is one of, or maybe the like most special place that struck me, that still somewhere, there is somewhere in the world where the residents of the city, the residents of the town, they come automatically to attend Mangalati before starting their day. It's not taboo, it's not this, that, and the other. It's the accepted style of life. And they don't arrive also like after Mangalati starts. You see, there's so much anticipation before the Mangalati. And the Pujari comes with his big key. He's got, you know, they have the old kind of lock, and he's got a big key, and he comes with the key. And as the Pujari comes, the crowds, they're already chanting, you know, whatever, the different groups are chanting different Govinda-centered songs and jais and Govinda, Jaya, Jaya, like this. Then when the man comes with the key, everybody gets all more and more excited. Then he opens the door, everyone's getting more excited. But when he opens the door, there's still a curtain inside, so you still can't see. And then you see some activity behind the curtain and all this anticipation. It's a very much, you know, part of the morning program itself. And then, of course, when the deities open, there's a giant roar, and somehow all the different chanting groups come to chant together some song that they chant about Govinda. And what I just mentioned, that in the evening arati, I went there for the evening arati, and so happy entering the temple. I arrived just a little late after the door had opened. Oh dear. But they were chanting, Kiva Jaya, Jaya Gora Chante, Arati. Because it's the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's our family. I mean, it's our family, the Gaudiya Vaishnava family, who are worshipping Govindaji there. And anyhow, it is just so wonderful to see that such a place exists in the world today.
Yeah.
And Maharaj, remember, in front there are 2 pillars right in front of the deities. And 2 pillars, they have reliefs of Vaishnavas singing and a little signatures, not signatures, names written in Sanskrit maybe. So I think Keshavananda Prabhu, he read it for me, and there was Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So we're hoping to be seen by the Govindaji, and then when the parikrama starts, thinking about 10,000 people moving clockwise around the altar 4 times minimum. So even if you don't want to go, you're gently, but you know, strongly taking it around, and you have to finish the 4 rounds. And it's like a current, it takes you and then it leaves you after a while. So it is beautiful. And I have to say, Maharaj, there was one businessman, I've been conducting business for more than 20 years, And one time I was really late. I had to catch the flight, and I had this money for him. And it was for evening darshan. It was getting late for evening darshan. And I said, can you just, skip this darshan? He said, in 70 years, I haven't skipped this darshan. So see you next time. I said, but how about money? When you come, you pay. But I have to go for a darshan.
Nice.
So now we're going to Gopinath Maharaj, with your permission.
Okay, if everybody's done their 4 parikramas of Govindaji.
Oh, they have no choice, Maharaj. They have no choice.
They have no choice. And just like 2 sentences on that, I was standing back with some other devotees, because from quite a distance you can have darshan of the Mangal Arti. But then when the Arti finished, everyone's going around, and I'm thinking, well, I'll just wait a while until the crowd is gone, so that then I'll easily have parikrama. But then I see it's still going on and on and on. How is it that it's going on? And then I noticed that when they're finishing 4 parikramas, they're leaving. But as fast as they're leaving, there's another stream coming in for darshan. So it's like a continuous flow of pilgrims. So then I thought, okay, to do my parikrama, I just got to go in with the flow and get taken by the current. So then went in with the flow, and it was not aggressive, very peaceful. And just another observation, seeing as we're there in front of the deity, that everybody, every devotee, every pilgrim who receives some prasadam from the deity, the pujaris hand out the prasadam, they're all distributing to others. Like very happily, they're getting something and they're distributing to others. It's a very sweet mood throughout the temple.
Yeah.
So yes.
And also that same, and what you're describing, that same intensity of the big flow and the parikrama, they do the same thing in the evening for Tulsi Puja. That's huge. It's like the same group they're surrounding, and of course they used to have those ladies on the side with the gagra, the skirts, because gopis didn't wear saris, but they wore skirts. And these women, they spin around and dance, and their skirts twirl. It just adds to the celebratory mood of everything.
So 2 Mahamantras, Maharaj.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
2 Mahamantras.
Okay, yes, we better chant. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
So now we arrived, and really it is a hidden gem of Jaipur. It's a walk. It's about 20 minutes walk from Govindaji Temple, and it's in a small street, and really you wouldn't even notice it if you don't know where you're going. It will be just a door, an entrance into a very old Haveli, like 18th century Haveli, a big palatial house. And then you will hear the songs. There's always 24 hours a day. There's some devotees doing kirtan for Gopinathji. And really it is a magical place, and as we already mentioned, the Gopinath, he was discovered at Vamshivat, originally again Bajranath. Vamshivat.
In Vrindavan.
By Paramananda Bhattacharya, who was Gadadhar Pandit's disciple, and who gave it to Madhu Pandit, one of the greatest devotees of that time. He is shortly mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was one of those devotees who didn't want it to be mentioned. Those humble souls. And it's a beautiful temple, beautiful arrangement. The pujari is very sweet, very friendly. Again, it's a Gaudiya style worship in there. Lots of people, and it feels like one big family. And I used to go there and sit there for like hours, and you just don't want to leave. And I thought there must be some sentiments there. There's nothing substantial in me for sure. But then carefully asking other devotees, so how you feel when you go there? And they're saying the same thing. They're expressing the same sentiments. So I thought at least I have some friends, sentimental friends.
My friends are valid.
And I have one very dear friend of mine who was also sharing those sentiments, and his name is Keshavananda Prabhu, and I wanted him to say something about this place. Keshavananda Prabhu.
Turn off the microphone. Have to allow him
Oh,
to
there
turn
he
off
is.
the microphone. Yeah. Oh, the online team. Somebody has to give him permission to turn on.
Working on it. Here we go.
Okay, Dandavat, everyone. Hare Krishna. How happy are we? How happy are we, and how fortunate are we to be here with each other in the holy city of Jaipur, just come walking from the glorious temple of Govindaji. You know, Govinda, he may be a village boy, but he can camp out in the king's palace sometimes if it suits him. So we've walked through the grand arches and colonnades of the king's palace, and we've walked here from one wonderful place. We've heard so many wonderful things, and now we've arrived in the temple of Gopinath. And as Srila Goswami Maharaj was saying, this wonderful statement of the Vedas and Nivriti Shabda, by sound gives us, by this divine sound, we are freed, we are changed by this divine sound, we are liberated by this divine sound coming from the hearts and the lotus mouths of the Vaishnavas. So by that sound, we have been transported to the lotus feet of Gopinath in the city of Jaipur. You know, we hear this name. I wasn't so familiar with this name, Madhu Pandit, when I first came to try to do some service in Vrindavan. It's not a name that comes up a lot in most of the books that we read, but as Paramananda Prabhu said, he was a dear disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. So right there, we know that our heads are going to be bowed as low as we can go to a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, this heart-wrenching personality of Gadadhar Pandit, a disciple of him, and a friend of Srinivas and Narottam, Chamananda. He garlanded them before they set off with the responsible savor of carrying the books of the Goswamis to Bengal. So this is the temple. These deities actually established so many thousands of years before by Krishna's own family member, and then so many adventures they have, so many ways in which that beautiful, sweet absolute likes to dance, sometimes hiding, sometimes not, sometimes playing this way, sometimes running to Jaipur, drawn to the love and affection of the devoted, of the whole city of Jaipur. He ran there, and Gopinath also ran there. He's another one of these deities was specifically warned about his sideways glance, how dangerous this glance is if we can catch a glimpse of that. That's that glimpse that comes on that divine sound. It comes from the lotus mouth of Srila Gurudev, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and all our Vaishnav well-wishers. His glance is carried to us. We're bowing down at the feet of Gopinath in this sweet, homely, you know, we're bowing down to that, but still we can't deny we're feeling some home comfort. Why does Guru Maharaj use these words, home comfort? Because it's the home that we are all longing for. We are strangers in a strange land, and we are hungry for our home. We are homesick. And by the grace of Sri Guru and Gauranga and the Vaishnavas, sometimes a little bit of that homesickness is relieved something by their words telling of our home and their encouragement to proceed in that direction. And sometimes they take us to these places that really we don't have the ability to actually see them, but still they are so merciful. They are giving us some special grace to feel something there. Oh, this is so wonderful, and this is the home of my Guru Maharaj. This is the home of our guardians, and Mahaprabhu has come to collect all the fallen souls of the age of Kali and bring them happily in that direction. So this temple, beautifully decorated, different again, just opulent but sweet and simple in the style of Vrindavan, not big, small, but beautiful. And Gopinath is there, and again the ladies sing. The kirtans are very wonderful. At first I couldn't quite understand their kirtan because it's basically lots of people banging gongs. I mean, it's a cacophony, it's a holla holla, it's a bang, 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 bang. And at first it's not what we're used to as out in our, but after some time we start to grow, we have some appreciation for that. The Lord likes to be worshipped like this in Jaipur, and all the ladies are banging the gongs. Sometimes they're dancing in their colorful Rajasthani saris, faithfully coming every day for the darshan of their Lord. So how fortunate we are to be here, and how true it is that the world of the heart and the world of love and affection is something transcendental. It's not connected. It doesn't, we're together in that land at the feet of Radha Govinda and Radha-Gopinath. So I'm very happy, in case you didn't know, to be here with you all. And what can I say? Jai Madhu Pandit Ji Ki Jai, Radha-Gopinath.
Hi, Radha-Gopinath.
Hi. So now we're leaving the Gopinath temple and going for a quick darshan. Actually, all the temples, they have very convenient darshan time. Even though you have to walk for 20 minutes, you're still going to end up with having a darshan of Radha-Damodar, Radha-Vrindavan Chandra, and Radha-Vinod. So we're going there right now, and it's right on the main street, one of the main streets of Jaipur. And you'll see there are stairs, and again, very simple door. There's nothing. I mean, there's a sign in Hindi saying Radha-Damodar Ji Temple, and really a simple door. But when you enter that door, you're transformed. You're in a different world. So now we're entering that temple for a very quick darshan, because we already visited Radha-Damodar Temple in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So the original deities of Jiva Goswami and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswamis are there. So we're going up the stairs, entering, and pujaris are very friendly, like super friendly there. Again, it's a Gaudiya line worship. And can we see the deities? Renana? So the bigger, now we're going to have a picture of the deities. So no, that's Radha-Vinod. That's Radha-Vinod. So the bigger ones are Radha Vrindavan Chandra, and the smaller ones are Radha-Damodar of Srila Jiva Goswami. And he received them from Srila Rupa Goswami. So we're just having a quick darshan, please. Here we go. Jai. So Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki jai. Radha-Damodar ki jai. So we're circumambulating again. It's a house, it's a Haveli style, very sweet temple. And then just around the corner, we're going to have our lunch, Maharaj, with your permission. It's so near, I think we don't need any Mahamantras. Really, it's literally 30, 50 meters away.
But we didn't have any Mahamantras to come here.
Oh,
so
right. Oh, yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
2 Mahamantras.
There you go, 2. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Right, so again, we're going up the stairs, and this temple is the most hidden temple. If you don't know, there is no sign, there is nothing. There is just a stairway leading practically to nowhere.
So how do you find it? You got to go with someone who's been there.
Exactly, Maharaj.
Yeah.
The usual.
The
way.
devotees.
The devotee. So we're going up there, and there's a very friendly pujari whom we know very well. His name is Parikshit Goswami. He's originally from Navadvip, and he's very happy to see any Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Here we go. That's Parikshit Goswami.
Hare Krishna.
And every time we go there, this is the place we would usually have lunch. So whatever he is offering to the deities, he will be offering to us. Of course, we will have to give him advance notice so that he prepare a little bit extra. And the most amazing Paramananda, everybody was there. Whoever went to Jaipur with us remembers those lunches at Radha-Vinod Temple. And the Radha-Vinod, they're the deities of Lokanath Das Goswami. And we already spoke about Srila Lokanath Das Goswami on Narottam Das Thakur's disappearance day. But really, it's another heart-wrenching story. It is described how Lokanath, who knew Mahaprabhu since Navadvip, when his parents passed away, he decides to surrender himself completely to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. But then he receives the orders from Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan. And then he understands that soon Mahaprabhu will take sannyas. And he starts from Vrindavan following the orders of Mahaprabhu. Then he receives the news that Mahaprabhu took sannyas already. And then he so much eager to see Mahaprabhu again, he turns around and he goes to Katwa. But Mahaprabhu already left. He went to Puri, he went to Navadvip, then he went to Puri. Then he's receiving those news, then he going back to Navadvip, and then Mahaprabhu is in Puri. He starts for Puri, Mahaprabhu started for South India, he goes to South India. And then again, he couldn't see Mahaprabhu. And then he hears that Mahaprabhu is in Vrindavan. And then from South India, he starts from Vrindavan, but then it is described, he arrives to Vrindavan just few days before Mahaprabhu goes to Prayag. And then he's absolutely heartbroken. And then he's about to start to follow Mahaprabhu again, to go to Prayag. And then Mahaprabhu appears in his dream and says, please, Lokanath, please stay here. Stay in Vrindavan. Soon I will come. And my dear devotees will come. Wait for Rupa, wait for Sanatan. And then Mahaprabhu is giving him instructions. And in the future, one young man will come, one very devotional personality will appear in front of you. His name is Narottam. You must accept him as your disciple. And then he's giving these instructions. Then Lokanath is awake, and then he decides to stay in Vrindavan. And as we know, he is extremely renounced. And Srila Goswami Maharaj used to mention to us how he would put his water pot upside down to avoid any sorts of communication with the people. And then one day he's in one of those forests of Vrindavan, and is said, true or not, I do not know, but Kanjiravan is mentioned as that particular forest. And then Krishna, somebody said it was Krishna himself who took the form of the Brahmin. He appears in front of Lokanath, and he gives him deities as dakshin. And that's how he received the deities of Radha-Vinod. They're not so large deities. And we know that Lokanath Das Goswami, he didn't want to beg food from anybody. He didn't want to have any interaction with people. So he would gather some roots, fruits, vegetables, something, and he would offer them to Radha-Vinod. And he made a little like uttariya, maybe he had uttariya or some kind of a cloth, and he would wrap the deities and would wear them around the neck wherever he would go. So these are the deities we're having darshan of right now, and we're about to have lunch there.
Hare Krishna.
And then from here, by the magic power of Mahamantra, and even though it's about 1 hour, to go there normally from Radha-Vinod Temple.
Yeah.
We're going to the temple of Radha-Madhava, the original deities of Jayadev Goswami.
Oh,
And we will humbly request our dear Srila Goswami Maharaj to say something to glorify Srila Jayadev Goswami. So two
we need
Mahamantras.
at least a couple of
Two
Mahamantras.
Mahamantras.
Minimum.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And I just want to mention the temple where Radha-Madhava deities are worshipped right now was the first temple of Govinda.
Of
So
Govindaji.
the original temple of Govindaji before Jaipur was built
Yes.
is that temple where Radha-Madhava deities are receiving worship at the moment in Kanak Vrindavan.
What are we saying?
That's in front of Kanak Vrindavan. That's the temple.
Is there a picture of the deities? So, Hare Krishna. That's Govindaji.
Radha-Madhava.
Oh, it is. Looks very much like Govindaji, yeah. I mean, his arm, the arm, mitten arm. Hare Krishna. So we know from Chaitanya Charitamritam that Mahaprabhu in his final days, like Guru Maharaj is saying, public service and private life, public service, distributing Nam Sankirtan, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, far and wide to everyone. But when Advaita gave him release through his mystic poem, letter, Mahaprabhu went into the Gangbir, that his dive deep into reality room, and the Bandhi Garba, Gurudev translates Guru Maharaj's Premadhamma Stotram, he calls it the fire bed of separation. That's what he calls it, Bandhi Garba. And there, in the company of Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, or Lalit, Vishaka Saki, Lalita Saki, he's plunging the depths of Radha Bhav, the heart of Srimati Radharani, in its most intense mode of expression, which comes out in feeling separation from Krishna. And to amplify those feelings, there are certain verses that are and songs sung by Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar to either amplify those feelings or sometimes to give some relief to the anguish of separation in the heart. And specific books are identified. Right? One being Ramananda's own Jagannath Vallabha Natak. Right? Another being Krishna Karnamritam of Bilba Mangal Thakur, which Guru Maharaj says, Krishna nectar for the ear. So sing, he's like Radharani, wants to hear all these sweet slokas about Krishna, like the one Gurudev loved so much. Kosturi tilakam lalata palake bhakshastare kostubam nashagre namamoktitam karatale venam kare kankanam sarvanga harichandanam chakalayam mukte muktavalim kante muktavalim gopa stri pariveshito vijayate gopala chudamani. How beautiful Krishna looks when he's surrounded by the Braja Gopis, playing his flute. How beautiful his fingers are when he's playing the flute. He's wearing musk tilak, a pearl nose ring, necklace of pearls, his body's covered in chandan. Just so one sloka after another like that. So someone who's Mahaprabhu, has the heart of Radharani, just keep pouring the nectar on, Krishna nectar through the ear from Swarup and Ramananda. So that book, very important. Jagannath Balavanatak. But also we're told the songs of Vidyapati and Chandidas, one of which you see in The Religion of the Heart, published by Sripad Bhakti Premik Siddhanti Maharaj, and a nice collection of special talks given by Srila Govinda Maharaj. But the other book that's mentioned is Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami, that this particularly was relished by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These particular pastimes of Radha and Krishna. We sing the Das Avatar Stotram, the Jaya 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 Jagadisha Hari, the 10 different avatars. But there are many songs there and many slokas. Vishvesham Manoranjanena Janayan Anandam Indivara Srini Shamala Kamala Anangotsavam, describing the limbs of Krishna as a never-ending festival for the eyes of the Braja Gopis, and very beautiful things there. Some of them, Gurudev, he quoted some of these slokas in St. Petersburg at Lakta and said, good for telling, but not explaining. So, because that's so high and generally something we should not go into the details of, he said, well, I can sing the Sanskrit, but not explain. So he walked that fine line. But one that's mentioned in Charitamritam, that just hearing this would put Mahaprabhu into a deep trance with streams of tears, Ganga-like streams, tears pouring from his eyes, that it's included, and we can just hear some of the poetic beauty of Jayadev Goswami. He goes, Lalita Labanga Lata Parishilana Kamala Malaya Samire Marukara Bi Kara Karambita Ko Kila Kujita Kunja Kutire. So if you listen, la 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 la, Lalita Lavanga Parishilana Kamala la 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 Malaya Samire Marukara Kakaka Marukara Bi Kara Karambita Ko Kila Kujita kunja kutire. So ka 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 ku ku ku. It's just divine, the beauty of the sounds, but then what to speak of the substance that's represented there. Just hearing that, Mahaprabhu would just have a ecstatic emotional meltdown. Right? It would have that kind of effect upon him. And it's also in that Gita Govinda, as Mahaprabhu is the epitome of declaring Radha Dasyam as supreme, the supremacy of Srimati Radharani, the better half of the sweet absolute. And it's in Jayadev's poetry, just a line or so quoted by Ramananda in the Ramananda Sambad, the Mahaprabhu, singing that Rasa Leela of Gopinath, 1 trillion gopis, one gopi leaves, and think 1 trillion minus 1 is more or less 1 trillion, but that one, in the absence of her, the tastefulness of the experience has gone down dramatically, and Krishna's wondering what? And Jayadev says, Radha-Madhava hridaye katyaja braja sundari. Taking Radharani alone in his heart, he left all the braja sundaris searching for her. So that's one way he describes her superior qualities. Just think, one gopi can cancel 1 trillion, 1 trillion-fold qualifications as she. And the other thing is, when Jayadev, so he's writing all these beautiful things in Gita Govinda, and his wife, Padmavati, she's cooking lunch, and Jayadev writing this, and then he's so inspired, and we see this kind of things that are coming to him. So he's writing this, and then he writes something and things like, oh no, whoa, I've gone too far now. A little too excited, too inspired, need to calm down, not write that. Something he thought of writing, and then, whoa, no, that's too much. I need to take a break. Put the pen down, go bathe, take a little prasadam, a little rest, and and then approach this again. So he goes off to bathe. And then we're told that Krishna assumes the form of Jayadev Goswami perfectly. And it must really be fun for him to do that. Just when you think about it. To completely, like perfectly impersonate another person. Not just by gesture or, like a makeup artist kind of thing. But he can perfectly become that other person. Their hair, down to their gestures, everything about them. It's identical. He's Krishna. Right? So he comes and enters that room and picks up the pen and writes these words. Dehi padapalabam udaram. Dehi padapalabam udaram. Which means what Jayadev was hesitating to express was that in their divine pastimes, as Guru Maharaj says, sometimes there's a cause for disagreement or argument, upset. Sometimes there's no cause and there's argument and upset. And in one particular instance, Radharani is upset with Krishna, how beautiful that is in and of itself. And what he was saying, and that Krishna comes and bows down and touches her lotus feet and begs forgiveness. And he thought, I can't write this. That's too much. But then Krishna came and wrote, Dehi padapalavam udaram. Krishna wrote it in his own, in the hand of Jayadev Goswami. But in other words, Krishna wanted this to be known to the world. Yes, sometimes I get on my hands and knees and touch the lotus feet of Radharani begging forgiveness. There are people who cannot handle that. This the ultimate beauty of Krishna conception, where the devotee is in the supreme position. And so then Krishna comes out, and Padmavati, she's feeding, thinking she's feeding her husband, she's feeding Krishna. And today he's very eagerly taking everything. And then she goes away, and their system, as the wife would serve the husband, then afterwards, then she will take. So now she's sitting on the side taking, and husband's gone. Then the original Jayadev comes from bathing, and he sees his wife eating. And it's just unusual because that's not how they normally do it. And he's saying, what? Why are you saying, what are you saying? Well, why are you taking? What do you mean? You finished writing in your book, you took prasadam, and now I'm taking. You went back to your book. What are you saying? He goes and looks at that book, and where he was hesitating to write that, Krishna pen, Dehi padapalavam udaram. He went, oh my, Krishna has descended and written this. He wants the world to know this confidential truth. And one thing to note is, so great is Jayadev Goswami, like the poets of India, Chandidas, the greatest poets of all time, but he's not overly confident in his own assessment of things. He thinks maybe I've gone too far, maybe this is not genuine inspiration. That sort of self-analysis is there in the higher devotees. They don't take anything for granted. They're never complacent, and they're always thinking themselves unqualified. And he's the most qualified, yet thinking he's not qualified. Right? But, and so, ahoy tukiya pratyata, causeless and irresistible. So he's trying to resist by not writing those things. But Krishna came down and made it known to everyone. Then we can think, what kind of devotee is Jayadev Goswami, and what sort of devotion is in his heart that he's able to express such things in song, in unparalleled poetry, and it's so divine, so beautiful, that when Mahaprabhu is enveloped in the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, this is one of his most cherished things to hear. And it's echoing, mirroring the sentiments that he's feeling in his heart, the heart of Radharani. And Krishna, now able to experience separation from himself. What Jayadev Goswami has written is one with those sentiments of heart. So how special it is, how exalted it is, and how unparalleled is the position of Jayadev Goswami. So that the deity of Jayadev Goswami means extra special and beauty, charm, sweetness, and
remember Srila Gurudev's name, Bhakti Deity.
Yes.
Radha-Madhava.
Yes. Radha-Madhava Sundar. Yeah. Hare Krishna. That's all right.
The second one.
Yes. So on that note, we shall sing. Jaya Radha-Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha.
The French say that's auspicious to break the glass. Keep singing. Jaya Radha-Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. terrace, the terrace of the Sri Srimad. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindaji Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiva ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Brajamandal Parikrama ki jai. Shri Jaipur ki jai. Shri Govindaji ki jai. Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Radha-Madhava ki jai. Radha-Vinod ki jai. Radha-Damodar ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Govinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan ki jai. Shri Bila Govinda ki jai. Shri Jaipur ki jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srilesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Brinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bhavan Janardhan Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Kusum Ashram Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bidai Trivikrama Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimala Maharaj ki jai. Jai Sriman Paramananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Bhakti Lalita Devi ki jai. Shri Keshavananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Devashis Prabhu ki jai. The Sannyasi Brinda ki jai. And Maharajas are in the, I can't see. Sripad Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj ki jai. Shri Bhakti Vigraha Nasi Maharaj ki jai. Bhakti Amrit Mahavir Maharaj ki jai. Bhakti Ashray Dandi Maharaj ki jai. Sannyasi Vrinda ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
So,
Yes.
Paramananda Prabhu and
Yes, Maharaj.
Tomorrow is Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami
Yeah.
Prabhupada's disappearance day.
Yeah.
And so perhaps we shall mystically transport ourselves to Chiang Mai, Sri Gupta Govardhan for tomorrow's festival. And then the next day we'll return to Jaipur for one more day of parikrama. We can come to Govardhan, to Gupta Govardhan in Thailand tomorrow because we can on the digital. This is my suggestion.
Maharaj, that we accept your suggestion happily.
All right.
I see Sri Haridas and Isabella. Hare Krishna. Hi, Isabella. And Anindita and Jai Shekhar Prabhu Dandavat says, Beta life, there's Braja Sundari Devi and Israel, Praneshri Devi Dasi Dandavat, Rupa Vilas Prabhu in the Philippines, Shakira in South Africa, Dandavat, Suresh Krishna Prabhu in Riga, Dandavat, Banavi Didi in Roma, Dandavat, Prem Narayan Prabhu, still crossing the ocean of nations in that boat, determined. Hare Krishna. Nityananda Das doing the Russian translation. And who is? Huh? All right. You took the words right out of my mouth. Oh, Dandavat. Ni hao. Hare Krishna. Dandavat. Ravindra Krishna and Shama Balavadidi. Dandavat. Jai Gauranga Prabhu. Dandavat. Keshavananda, of course, and Sachi Devi. Dandavat. Adidev Das Shamala Didi, Dandavat, Madhuchanda, Dandavat, Subhashini Didi, Dandavat, Kum Didi, Dandavat. Be ready tomorrow to sing the glories of Srila Prabhupada. Rasa Moyi Pandita, Dandavat. Hare Krishna, Nityananda Ram Prabhu, Kalami Dandavat, Dayavati Didi Dandavat, Dhananjaya Chaitanya Moyi, also in Rome, Dandavat, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, West London Ranch, Dandavat to everyone there. I see Lavanya Moyi, Dandavat, and who else? Saraswati, Dandavat, Hare Krishna. Is there more to see? That says Aravinda Lochan Das. Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Suchitra, Dandavatiri. And there's Supriya. Dandavat Supriya. Hare Krishna. Who is she with?
Her friend. She's in Shanghai now.
Oh, all right. And Shanghai, China. Dandavat, Dandavat. Kanupriya, Dandavat. Kanupriya Didi, Dandavat. Saraswati Didi of Lakta, Dandavat. Yuvati, oh, Dandavat, Hare Krishna. She's on loan from Chiang Mai. And there is Gavin, Hare Krishna, after doing Vaishnava Seva here in Chiang Mai. And Dr. Jai, he took the doctor off. Dr. Jai Kumar, for all your material and spiritual ailments. And Charu, Lata, says Bala, all right. Her name, I thought it was Lata. All right, Bala. Janvi, Dandavat, and Maheshwari, and the ever-present Sandeep Krishna Prabhu. Ragaleka Didi, Dandavat. Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Trilokanath Prabhu, my Dandavats to you, our Dandavats to you. Radha Sundari, Dandavat. Indumukhi, Dandavat. Govinda Nandini, oh, I mentioned that name tonight, Dandavat. Kamalini, Dandavat. Dhananjaya from, I think, in, where? In Siberia. Sulakshana doing her translation. Vedavita, Odar Jalila, Dandavat. Ananta Shesh Prabhu. Kamala Devi, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. So, the Vaishnavas are wish-fulfilling desire trees and an ocean of mercy. Vanchakalpatribhyascha kripasindhubevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. They are our saviors. Dandavats, and we'll see you all again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai.
All the assembled Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat.